Dear ones, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for being here. I am Sagi. I was asked to speak about problems. How do we deal with a problem? How to distinguish between a short-term problem, a long-run problem, a problem that reoccurs. What to do? So, let's dive right into it. First, and maybe the most important part, is to acknowledge that consciousness is in the base of everything. Therefore, consciousness is in the base of understanding that you have or that we have a problem, that there is an issue at all. Once we are aware of something that disturbs us, this is already the first step, and this step should be celebrated. Truly, think about it for a second. How often did you have something coming in and out of your life until you realize it's a problem, right? And then you thought, oh, if only I could have seen it back then. So awareness is key. And in order to be in awareness, we should always come back to a quiet and still place. And I teach that and I repeat that very often in these videos of mine. To take a moment, to take a conscious moment every now and again, to stop, to connect with the breath, to feel your feet on the ground, to feel you anchoring into earth, to feel the weight of your body. Even though some of you don't like the weight of your body, the weight of your body is actually a reminder that you are living a physical life. And by remembering that, you come back into your body. And your body is your limit. It is the source of your limitation, yes? And at the same time, this is the limit of who I am in this physical reality. Why is it important? Because this is how we distinguish what is mine and what's not mine. What is under my control and what's not under my control. And that is already solving a big problem, right? How often do we think, want, need to deal with something, and we actually cannot really affect that? So maybe that's the first issue, is understanding when something appears in your life and it disturbs you, and it reappears and it occurs again and again to the point that you are aware of it. To ask the question, is this problem, is this issue mine? Meaning, do I have the capacity to deal with it? Or do I need to ask somebody else to deal with that? Because if the later is the answer, if I need to ask somebody else to deal with that, it's not my problem. And because it's not my problem, I shouldn't even deal with it. I shouldn't even worry about it. Understanding that I can take care only of what I control in my life, only of my physical being, only of the way that I speak, how I articulate myself, only I'm responsible for my thoughts, my emotions, and my actions. I am not responsible of anybody else's thoughts, emotions, and reactions, actions. That includes our children. Dear folks, this is a very important part. We are responsible in giving the education to our children. We are responsible in giving them, establishing them a ground, a fertilized ground for them to grow up in and express themselves in. But we are not responsible for what they think, for what they feel, for what they imagine, for what they, for how they act. And that is the same situation with everybody else. And we know we cannot actually teach anybody anything unless we first practice it on our own. This is what is called being a master, is a person who is practicing a certain way of life and has reached the point where being and doing are the same, and therefore he can give that information other people. So when we come to the question of how do I deal with problems, is ask yourself first, is this issue that disturbs me mine? Can I approach it? Usually the answer will be yes. If you dig deep into it, you will find that the answer is yes. Because even if you first answered no, this is not my problem, I cannot affect that, I cannot change that, then the next question should be, so why is it disturbing me? This is how we learn our buttons and what presses our button, what triggers us in life. When we ask those questions, when we take the moment to subside our emotions, when we are taking a moment to be instead of to react, and we learn what is affecting us, what is triggering us, and from which place are we being motivated to do things, are we being triggered to do things. So after I ask the question, is that something which is mine? Can I affect that? Can I change that? If the answer is yes, then of course I should do something about it. If the answer is no, then the next question would be, so why is it affecting me? Why is it bothering me? And then with that question, I can approach understanding better my relationship with that issue, with whatever it is that I call a problem. And usually this is the foundation of understanding what's going on in my life. There is no object, there is no person, there is no thing, there is no idea that can directly affect me, that can directly be a problem, cause an issue in my life, unless I have a relationship with that. And if I do have a relationship with that, then that's the core issue, their relationship. It's how I see that thing. What is that thing to me? What do I want from that thing? What does that thing want from me? This is the relationship. A relationship is exchange, is relaying on, is me laying on that and that thing laying on me, which means there is an exchange. Something that I do affects that thing, that person, that issue. Something that issue, that person, that thing does affects me. So it is right here where the issue lays, where the problem lays. It's in the relationship, it's in that whatever comes out of me and whatever comes back to me. And that is triggering certain points, not only in my physical body, but mostly in my emotion. Generally speaking, it's being generated from my mind, which produces hormones to move and affect my body. So it is built in my system, the things that are triggering me. Much like you will take any device that has buttons, and whatever you press on that buttons triggers the device to react. Whereas no button, then you cannot affect that device. And certain buttons lead to certain reactions, certain effects from the device. So is our being, or our state of being. We are being triggered, and we need to understand what is triggering us. What is the relationship between me and that thing which triggers me at a certain level? What level is it? And very important, how do I react to that? So this is a very basic thing into understanding. First of all, what is a problem? What is the problem? The problem is always my relationship to that thing. And even taking it another level, usually it's me being under the perception that there is a problem in the first place. Because I can always change my point of view. I can always choose to change the way that I see things. And if something triggers me, and it irritates me and I can feel that emotion rises up, I can always go back to the breath, anchoring myself, not reacting, but rather anchoring. First of all, establishing my presence in the now moment, governing my own emotions rather being governed by them. And from that sense of being, which is calm, which is mature, which is knowing, it's knowing, it is a knowingness, there's a knowingness around it, then I can truly decide, hold on, this thing is not necessarily a problem. This thing is here to teach me something. This thing is here to show me my own boundaries, my own limitations. This thing is here to show me what I like and what I dislike generally about life. That is already an empowering concept, isn't it? To know that nothing is truly a problem, that everything is here to serve us in one form or another. Again, this is the master life. The master knows that. The master is not being a victim to coincidence, is not being led into circumstances without his own consent. The master understands that life is a product, is a complete product of my sets of skills, my sets of emotions, and most of all, my sets of belief systems. Therefore, I can navigate that. If I truly take responsibility for that, take ownership of whatever it is that is happening in my life, including problems, truly taking ownership of that means I have summoned it into my life. I have, created it, invited it into my life to be a reflection of who I am in this now moment, to show me of my limitations, to show me that I can grow. This is why a problem is in the first place. To allow me to grow, to allow humanity to grow. If there will be no so-called problems, there will be no development. There will be no reason to evolve, right? Life will be standard. Nothing will cause us to do anything. Nothing will cause us to get out of our ways, to step out of our ways, or to get out of our comfort zone. If there's nothing that triggers me, how would I see that it's time to develop, that it's time to move on, that it's time to change something? So, core things with problems is that they are here to serve us, and that it's the key element is my relationship with that, remembering what is in my power and what's not in my power. What is in my power, I can change. I can ask myself, how do I need to do that? That's maybe for another video. If I don't believe that it's mine, then I ask myself, why is it triggering me in the first place? Because that too shows me my own boundaries, my own limitation, and invites me to overcome, right? To overcome the problem. And that's already a big step into changing my life, into dissolving problems, is to understand that that's there, and I can play with that, and I can even have fun with whatever issue that I have. Because if I continue rejecting it and stepping away from it, I'm not growing. I'm just actually limiting myself. Isn't it so? Whenever I am stepping away from a problem, I'm actually limiting my life. It means that's the problem, that's where the problem lives. Now I don't want to be in that proximity. I have to limit my own life. That's a very basic thing to remember. If I want to expand, and life is always expanding, is a never-ending expansion. If I want to continue to expand, I have to realize that I need to reach my own limits and break my own glass ceiling. And that is what we call problems. It's something that is showing it to my own dislike that reminds me, hey, you are limited. You've finally reached a place where you realize, recognize, you are aware of a limitation of yours, and it's time to step beyond. Now, how do we step beyond? That's a question for the master as well. Stay tuned.